Welcome to Losing a Child, Always Andy's Mom. On this podcast, we journey through the devastating experience of the death of a child. Grief is seldom discussed openly in our culture, and the death of a child makes people feel even more uncomfortable. We approach the topic openly and honestly, speaking to people who have lost loved ones and experts who help care for them. Whether you are a parent experiencing loss or someone who wants to support another going through this tragedy, this podcast strives to offer hope and help.
Welcome to episode number 340 of Losing a Child, Always Andy's Mom. I'm Marcy Larson, Andy's mom. So I don't know if you remember back to 2 weeks ago when I was talking to Stephanie about whether to kind of restart and just when I was taking my pause, when Gwen was kind of taking over. And I told Stephanie, and of course all of you then, that I had two things happen within, I think, about an hour of each other that made it very clear to me that God wanted me to keep going with the podcast. The first one was a woman that wrote to me and wanted to come on the podcast. And she was a Christian woman and just had a really beautiful story and was doing really beautiful things too and wanted to be on the podcast. And then the second was that just unexpected donation that I had to the podcast. And I remember getting both of those within such a short time and thinking to myself, yep, okay, God, you want me to keep going. And so as long as you want me to keep going, I'm going to keep going. So Leanne was that person who emailed to me. So now you get to hear Mikael's story from Leanne's perspective. She has a beautiful blog called amothersgriefjourney.com. She's written 2 different books. I did not read the first book, but she's here really talking more about the second book, a devotional, which we talk about at length as well. So I just feel really strongly that she was put here in my life at the right time for the right reason. And I know that you are going to be blessed by listening to her. I don't have a sponsor for this week's episode, but if you would like to sponsor an episode, you can go to the website, andysmom.com. Sponsorship is $125. With that, it sponsors one episode and covers all the kind of production costs for that. So I appreciate that. If you want to share your story on the podcast, please feel free to email me. Email me at Marcy, M-A-R-C-Y, at andysmom.com. Even if you don't want to share your story on the podcast and you just want to share it with me, I love getting those emails. It's really, truly is my favorite part of this job is by hearing stories of other amazing, wonderful moms and dads and their amazing, wonderful children. So please email me. If you've been on the podcast a long time ago and you want to come back on, we've been doing that a little bit too. So you've noticed some of those. Just to give you a little bit of a sneak peek, we've got another one of those coming next week. So next week we'll have Samantha, Rayden's mom, and you'll hear about how she's done since she was last on the podcast. And then we've got another one coming a little later on next month as well. So if you want to come back on and share your story again, please feel free to do so. Right now, though, I just want you to sit back and enjoy listening to Leanne, Mikael's mom. Thank you so much, Leanne, for agreeing to come on the Always Andy's Mom podcast today.
I am just really honored and happy to be here with you, Marcy.
Let's start out by just telling us all about your son, Mikael.
Well, I mean, I could talk all day about my son, Mikael, but
Yes, I'm sure you could.
as most parents, right? We talk about our kids, but my son Mikael was, well, as a kid, he was just really super lively and affectionate and funny and warm and impetuous, all of those things. And as he grew up, he just had such a talent and such a gift of making other people feel welcomed, feel like they belonged, feel like they were special. He was that guy that would talk to you at, if you're sitting alone at a party, he's the guy that would come over and sit with you and ask you about yourself and just make you feel like it was okay to be there. So he was really gifted. He was an encourager of others. And as he was older, as a adult, he was a total fitness buff. Like he was just fit, went to CrossFit and used to lecture me all the time about, what I should be eating or not be eating and working out. And yeah, he was just a super special young man. He could make me laugh. He loved movies. And he was a talented actor.
Okay.
Very good at that. Yeah, we have a lot of Michael stories that we share in our family.
Okay, well, let's pick out a favorite. What's a favorite Michael story?
I've got lots, but he was a kid, honestly, like you knew Michael was staying with you because there was always a pair of socks like on the stairs, under the table, somewhere, and half empty cans of sparkling water or pop all over the house. That's just always.
Yeah. Okay. I can relate to that for sure.
I think one of the things we tease him about the most is he always, first of all, you could not lend Michael anything because you will never see it again, right? So, and Tupperware was one of the biggest things. Like he would borrow Tupperware all the time, and like my good Tupperware, and then off he'd go with it, and I'd be like, "Where's?"
It's not coming back.
Well, never see that. Never coming back. And he used to show up all the time with a Tupperware container of noodles or whatever, right? Like he'd show up for supper. He'd waltz in here about 4:00, heat up his noodles, eat them up, and then 2 hours later he eat supper. And he was quite.
Well, that's
quite
why
the
you got some of your Tupperware back. I hope. Was it your
I
own stuff
got
coming
some.
back?
I got some of it. Yeah.
You know what's so funny is I think that's mine.
Is that my yeah? Is that my Tupperware?
Okay, I'm this way. This is my son Valeriano. He takes. I have these glass ones, nice glass ones
Yes.
that have the lids on them.
Yeah.
And they disappear and they come and then then we have to find them again. And he had roommates that would stay with him, and they would take his because then we bought some for him, and then they're gone. And so anyway, but I got to the point where he and his wife enjoy my homemade salsa, so I will hand him 2 jars of salsa, and I said, "Okay, as a empty jar comes back, you can have a new jar.
More.
But if the empty jar does not come back, you're not getting a new one." So
There you go. It's a good, like a deposit. Yeah.
That's right. It is. It's like a deposit.
That's a good plan.
The other day I was over there and I was helping take care of my granddaughter now, and there was one empty and clean, and like, okay, I'm just taking it home.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's
Yeah,
coming back. Otherwise,
just gonna assume that's mine, and
there's no question. It's definitely mine, right?
well, there you go. Yes, Michael is the king of Tupperware.
Those are fun little stories. Yes.
Yeah.
The king of stealing Tupperware.
Yep.
But, getting it back on occasion if you show up just at the right time, right? So So you have, how many kids do you have total?
Two boys.
2 boys. Okay.
Yes. So Davis is my oldest son, and Michael is my youngest.
Michael was your youngest. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk then about kind of what happened with Michael? Because I think it's a bit of a long story in some ways, isn't it?
It is. So I'll try to.
Oh no, that's okay. That's okay.
Michael, in high school,
Uh-huh.
Michael began struggling with drugs and alcohol. His biological father was an addict.
Mm-hmm.
I actually left his biological father. It was a very abusive marriage, and I left that marriage when the boys were very little.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I was pregnant with Michael when I left. So,
Oh wow.
anyway, in his teenage years, he really started to struggle. And in those years, for he and I, in the high school years, it was a bit rocky because, I was as his mom, I was scared. Of what was happening. And so, we were always having these debates about, here's information about drugs. Here's what it's going to do to you. Here's what like trying,
Yes.
and he felt like like I was, being like he was being judged. Like,
Uh-huh.
so and I mean, I tried everything I could think of to try. And, as he got older and, in his early 20s, he really his addiction just really settled in. He lived in Toronto for a year, and then he came home, and then he went out to Vancouver to go to film school, and that's where he became addicted to opioids.
Oh,
And he ended up in his sort of mid, like around 24, like how he was around 24, 20, he phoned me and he said, "Mom, I just have to come home. I have to come home." He told me what was happening. I knew that he was struggling. There were things that had happened, and I knew he was struggling. I don't think I realized how bad it was,
mm-hmm.
but he came home.
Because you live in a more rural area in Ontario, correct?
Yeah, I'm in Kenora,
Mm-hmm.
Ontario, so we're a couple hours from Winnipeg. Yeah, it's a small town, lakes, woods, just beautiful.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And that's where, it's where I grew up, where the boys grew up. And yeah, so he came home and he started recovery.
Yeah.
And he worked so hard, he worked so hard at it. And he was clean and sober for about a year and a half. And he had a relapse. And then, for us as a family, we just saw this as a family disease, and we did our best to support him. And one of the things that I learned, in that, I read somewhere something, about supporting someone with the disease of addiction. And the biggest message I got was with your kids was just love them.
Yes.
Just love them. And I made that choice. Okay, that's what I'm going to do with Mike. I'm just going to love him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he had a relapse, and again, he was clean and sober for about a year, had a relapse. So, but he just kept trying.
Yeah.
Each and we learned to recognize the signs that maybe a relapse was coming, just little subtle things, we'd recognize them, and so we kind of knew. Yeah, in November of 2022, he was clean. He'd been about 6 months clean at that point. He
Mm-hmm.
was really
Mm-hmm.
working his program, and I was seeing like spiritual growth in him that I thought, okay, like he's gonna make it.
This is going to be the one. This is going to be the time.
Fine, this is gonna be it.
Yeah.
The conversations he and I were having and we just became really close, he and I. A lot of really in-depth, close conversations with each other. We grew together.
Yeah.
So at that time, I had to go to Thunder Bay with my mom, as she
Mm-hmm.
had dementia and she needed hip surgery and she needed someone to be with her. So I went with her and was at the hospital there with her. And Michael relapsed, and we didn't see the signs
Yeah.
that, we didn't see them. And but his girlfriend, he was a great communicator. His girlfriend had gone with her kids to a hockey tournament. Michael, he was 31 at
Mm-hmm.
this time, and she wasn't hearing from him because he would normally text her, send her jokes, like just and she just got worried, and so she asked my son Davis to check on him,
Uh-huh.
and Davis found him,
Wow.
and it was too late.
Yeah.
He had overdosed, and Davis had to go through all of that trauma, finding
Yeah.
him, trying to revive him, calling the paramedics, calling the police, and eventually calling me.
Yeah.
And so I was in my mom's hospital room, and when he called me, and like I just remember falling down onto the floor and screaming, just no, no, no.
Yeah.
And of course everyone in the hospital came running. They could hear me, and they didn't really know, they didn't
Right.
know what to do. But I had a good friend. She came to the hospital, and she took over. My mom, of course, my mother, her dementia, "Oh, what's
Oh.
wrong?" And I told her,
Oh
and she,
no.
"Oh, no, this is so awful."
I
And then a minute
no.
later, "What's wrong?" So I
Yeah.
had to leave her room. I couldn't stay there.
Right. Because you can't keep doing it again and again and
It's like,
again.
"Okay, I
And you can't.
I have to get out of here."
Oh, So hard.
So my friend, no, she came and she took me out of there, and she just took over. She planned, she booked me a flight home. She took care of my vehicle, and how we would get that. Like, she just took care of everything. So I was just numb. I was just in a daze, and so then I flew home the next morning. My husband picked me up, called my little sister. My oldest sister had major hearing problems at the time, so I knew she wouldn't be able to hear anything I was telling her on the phone.
Oh,
So
wow.
I called my youngest sister, and and of course, poor Shannon, my little sister, she's the one that had to tell everyone else in the family,
Yeah.
right? So I just put that in her lap. But people just helped with everything. Everyone, they came together, they planned his service. Like, I couldn't do anything. I put the slideshow together for his service, which was very therapeutic. But all the plans, all the like, I was just like, so my
It's
family
so
really
hard, right?
stepped to the plate and helped out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Well, it's so hard because I mean, it's one of those things that's shocking and all of a sudden, but yet it's been a long time coming too, right? Because
yeah.
this had been, I'm sure, a fear in some ways. I don't know, maybe not.
It's the funny thing is, it was always a fear, and I'd spend
Yeah,
years praying, like, Lord, just keep him alive.
yeah,
And the funny thing is that summer, Michael had sat he and we went for lunch, and he sat with me, and part of he did an amends with me, and part of it was, "Mom, I know that your fear is always that I will die, and I'm so sorry," and we talked about it. That
yeah,
and I was able to say to him, "You know what, Michael, like, that's my fear, and it's something I have to deal with. You can't take that on. You're
right.
dealing with your own journey of being clean, and I'm dealing with my journey as your mom
Yeah.
in that
Hmm.
process." And we just had such a good talk about it. And it was one of the things that I thought, okay, like, he's just come so far, he knows.
Yeah,
But it's when it's a disease, and when you get
yeah. Hmm.
just the triggers that happen, and you makes just and you can't afford to make those few little wrong choices, because they lead you down to the path to even more wrong choices.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, but I am so proud of him, how hard he worked, how hard he tried, how much I know he wanted his life, to be lived clean and sober. And I'm just really proud of him and the person that he was.
Oh, well, that's a beautiful thing for you to say, and I mean, it does sound like he tried, and again and again and again, right?
Yeah, he never gave up. He never gave up.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I want you to talk now about your grief journey and what that's been like, because you've done a few different things in your grief journey. So, kind of talk about that from the beginning.
Right after Michael died, I knew that I just couldn't do it. I knew
Yeah.
I needed God's help.
Yeah.
The day that I got home, I remember I went to bed that night, and the next morning I woke up, and I just, everything comes crashing in, and I'm just thinking about Michael, and I just reached out to the Lord, and I prayed, and I just said, Jesus, I can't do this. I just
Yeah.
can't, and I need you. I need help me.
Hmm.
And he did, I could hear his voice in my head just saying, Leanne, I love you, and I will carry you. I've got you. And
Well,
he
that's
did, and he has every step of the way. And, so I just kept getting up every day, thinking about, what will I do that day? And putting myself in God's hands each day. And he gradually led me to begin sharing my own experience, my own feelings through a blog.
hmm
And then as I continued the blog, people just kept coming to me and saying, "Leanne, you need to write a book. Because you're just a good writer," which
hmm
I didn't know. I thought, "Oh, okay." And after about the seventh or eighth person, you think, "Okay, God, yeah, I get what you're telling me here."
hmm
So I wrote my first book, A Beautiful Pain, continued, and the blog sort of moved into an entire website where I've just worked on just making just as many resources that I can think of that other parents or other people that are suffering in grief might find helpful. They're all free, and they're out there. So I started doing that.
So tell people your website so they know. They might want to look at it right now as they're listening.
Okay, my website is just www.amothersgriefjourney.com. No spaces, between the words. Yeah, I just started doing that, and gradually it led to my second book, which I over time I started to realize that all the different things that I was experiencing, that I was feeling, like guilt, or like getting through Christmas, like the loneliness that comes with grief, that people will never understand unless they're living it. When you're in a room of people, and you feel lonely because it's like, no, yeah. All of those things, I realized that every single one of them, God was coming alongside me. He was providing me with scriptures that would help me. He was providing me with other people, ways that he was helping me with each of them. And at the same time, my little sister had said to me, like, you should write a devotional. So it all just came together, and so Tattered Hearts and Hopeful Souls, kind of was born. And I put together the 30-day devotional for people who are grieving, just to cover all those things that we experience, and how the scriptures that can come and help us with that, and just how we can sort of start walking through some of those things. How do we walk through guilt? How do we walk through forgiveness? How do we cultivate joy? Things like that. So yeah, and then other opportunities just kept coming up. I was able to facilitate Grief Share with our church for the last 3 years. I was an opportunity to develop some grief resources with my previous employer came up. Just different things have come up. And so I just keep, asking God to, tell me what you want me to do, put it in front of me, and then help me do it. So that's kind of how this sort of a grief ministry has come along. Yeah.
Well, I want to go back to the beginning when you said how you just said, I need you to God, because that really resonates with me. So I sing quite a bit. I sang in the worship band at my church, and I was doing that, had been doing that for quite a long time when Andy died, and which I couldn't do for a while afterwards. Actually, it took me 3 years before I could sing in front of the church again.
Oh yeah.
Which I want to touch on, because you talk a little bit about that in your devotional that I read. But one thing I would do is I would sit in the car, and there's a song, "I Need You" by Matt Maurer. I don't know if you know it, but the lyrics are, "I need you, oh I need you, every hour I need you."
Yes, I know the song. Yeah.
And I just start to cry even saying the words.
Yes.
But I used to sit in the car by myself, sing that song, and just sob. Because I knew that's, every hour.
Yes.
I needed God, because I couldn't make it through even an hour without him. I don't know, that sort of lament cry while I was singing would make it so I could, then at that point, some point, get out of the car and keep going a little bit. But just admitting that need and singing it really as a lament was therapeutic to me,
Oh, you know what? And we need to lament.
Yeah.
You
talked about that in one of your chapters in the book was on lament, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, I think God wants us to lament with him, and tell him all of the heartbreak. We need to. I do the same. There's lots of different songs I listen in my car, and I just cry, sing, like Zach Williams. I can't hardly get through any of his songs without crying. Lauren Daigle, like, oh, I'm just sobbing.
Yep, I know.
Like she has one called Rescue. I just cry through the whole song like this, right?
But it's so emotional, right?
Yeah.
So emotional.
Yeah, and we need to do it. And it's good.
It was funny because I read through your book, and one of the chapters was on worship and how you just needed to go, like, I need to be there. I need to, but yet some people can't. And I thought to myself, it was really funny because for me, singing I couldn't do. I just couldn't. I couldn't sing in front of people. I couldn't even sing when I was there. But I showed up every week because I was so afraid. I was so afraid that if I stopped going, I wouldn't go back. I remember one day I had just not been sleeping well. Obviously, I had not been sleeping well. And I finally had fallen asleep. And I woke up and it was 9:00 and church started at 9:15. And I flew up out of bed and I said to Eric, "What did you do? We have to go to church." And he's like, "Honey, you needed to sleep. You needed to sleep." And I just sobbed because I just was afraid that now I've missed one. Now, what does that mean? Am I going to go back? And of course I did. The next week, it's this need that I felt like I had to be there, even when sometimes it was really painful to be there. I mean, I would walk out. There was a little kind of nook that I could hide and no one could see me and I could listen and not be seen because, all the eyes and that are caring eyes, but you just don't want them, right? You just don't want them sometimes.
Yeah. Like I would just be in church and I'd cry through all the songs.
Yeah.
And when people are coming up to you after the service and they're going to say something that they hope is helpful, and you kind of know it's probably not going to be.
I know.
And you just want to say no.
I know.
Just,
I loved that. There was another part in your book, one of the chapters, it was about that. It was about he's not in pain anymore. He's in a better place, all that stuff. And it was a whole paragraph on that's just not helpful. And then the next paragraph was, but I tell that to myself and it is helpful. And it's so funny because
right.
when other people say it to me, I'm
true.
mad. I hate it. I don't like it at all. It's not helpful.
It's true.
But yet, do I tell myself, Andy's so happy in heaven, and does that bring me comfort? Yes, but only if I say it.
Yes. And sometimes actually, because my mom and dad have also passed away, and there's days where I'll be like, you three up there living your best life, good for you. Well,
right. But you don't want anybody else to say it to you. But I thought it was really beautiful because you did it 2 paragraphs right in a row, totally the opposite of each other, and I got it. Right?
Yes.
And I don't know that the average non-grieving person would read those 2 paragraphs and they might look and go, well, those were just 2 opposite statements. But for me, it made perfect sense.
And totally, I know in my heart that, in many ways, God saved Michael. He saved him from this disease. He's not hurting anymore. He's not struggling anymore. I know that. But you're right. When someone comes to me and says, well, no, Leanne, he's in a better place now and you'll see him again someday, I just want to say, oh, just shut up. Stop.
Right. And then you think, I probably shouldn't tell someone to shut up in church. Right?
What do we do? We smile and we're gracious because we know that people, I think that's one of the biggest things we learn, honestly, parents, when we've lost our children, is we learn grace, because when people say things to us that are just ridiculous, we know it's coming from a really good place in their heart. So we give grace, right? And we just smile and we say, oh, thank you, because we know they're just trying.
Yeah. And because they don't know, and they don't know that it's not a helpful thing, and they don't know that it kind of, that you want to yell back, but I want him here.
Yes.
Right. I mean, that's what you kind of want to yell back.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really hard. Well, I had another thing that really, really struck me that you wrote in a little. So all these devotionals, first of all, I want to tell you that I think they're really nice because they're very small and bite-sized, right? So they're not, sometimes when you're newly grieving, reading is really hard. Okay. I have got so many books right away. Mm-hmm. I could not make it through any of them. It was very hard to, I think, focus and concentrate to be able to do that. But most of the devotionals are not more than a page and a half or so. They're very short, and I feel like can be, easily digested by a grieving person, because you don't have to have a real long ability to concentrate, right?
Yeah.
So I want to say that first of all. And you end every one of them with about a 2-sentence prayer that I love. I thought all of those prayers were just so beautiful and simple and just good. I mean, they all had such a good message to them. But I did want to talk about one of the devotionals in particular, and that was when you wrote about not being thankful for the circumstances,
Yeah.
but being thankful in them. So I would
hmm
love for you to talk about that difference and how that revelation kind of came through to you.
Well, it came to me in church, and with the verse,
Yeah.
we were, and it was only a couple months after Michael had died, and
Uh-huh.
standing up to sing, and there's this poster, like framed poster with that verse, like right in my line of sight.
And can you recite the verse off the top of your head or no?
Oh,
It's from
I
Thessalonians, I think.
yeah, it is.
I should have written it down, but I didn't. I didn't.
I
But not
can
everyone is as familiar with
I could
biblical
find it.
passage than
It's gonna
others.
take me a while, but
I'm so
it's
sorry.
about being thankful in all circumstances. I'm just trying to find it here in my you think I would know every chapter I wrote in my book, right? But sometimes I forget.
No, I know, and I put you on the spot, and I didn't even warn you. Okay. I got it though. Guess what? I got it.
Oh,
First
but oh, good.
Thessalonians 5 verse 18. So give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ. It's just in every living thing give thanks. This is the will of God in Christ. Something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's got 2 different verses that you quoted, but anyway,
Yeah,
that's the gist of it. That is the
it,
gist of it.
definitely. Okay. So yeah, so I stood up to sing, and there's this verse, and I remember standing there and having this internal conversation with God where initially, like, I guess, temper tantrum from my side a bit, like,
Yes, of
are you
course.
kidding me right now? I'm
Thankful?
I'm supposed
I
to
am
be
not
thankful.
thankful.
God, like, my son died, right? Like, you're like, I'm just, no, I'm not thankful.
I'm not
I will
thankful.
not be
Hmm.
thankful for that. You can't make me,
Yes.
and God just really gently, he just says, Leanne, just, can you just read that verse again? I'm like, okay, whatever. And I read it again, and I thought, oh, I
Yes.
get it. You're in, not thankful for,
Yes. Hmm.
right? One word changes everything. And I stood there, and everyone was singing around me, and I thought, you know what? I realize that from the moment I received the news that Michael was dead, God provided every single thing I needed. He provided me a friend, someone to help me get home. He provided my family. Like, he just kept providing. He promised to carry me when I reached out and asked him. He promised he would, and he was. And I realized that, yeah, you know what? I do have a lot to be grateful for in this circumstance,
Yes.
because I could be in this circumstance just completely drowning, but God's holding on to me, and he's keeping me above the waterline, and he's providing what I need. So yeah, I that the difference, right? Not grateful for,
Yes.
grateful in.
It just really struck me. I just loved that. It was my favorite devotional. They were all very nice, but that was my
Oh,
favorite
good.
one. Is just that thinking about it in a totally different way. And instead of being thankful for things, being thankful in it, being
Yeah,
thankful in the circumstance, in everything that's happening. It's just a different way to live, really. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. I think it's one of the things that I've really learned, and I'm actually sort of starting another book about this, is that, I knew early on, I know I'm going to carry this grief for my whole life. I know my heart's going to be broken for my whole life. I know that.
Uh-huh.
I've got to accept it somehow. And I've got to decide how I'm going to carry that. Am I going to carry it in God's light, or am I going to carry it in bitterness and despair?
Yeah.
I want to carry this in God's light.
Hmm.
But what I've realized over the last 3 years is, if I want to do that, there's some work I have to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't come just easily, right? So I have to work at like gratitude and and joy and forgiveness and all of those things that there's work that I have to work. I have to do it.
I am so glad you said that because I do think that sometimes people oversimplify that. You know, they will say things to you like, choose joy. Like, choose joy.
Yeah.
Like, I just choose to be joyful. I just choose, like, okay. I mean, that's a lovely little thing to say. That is
Yeah.
lovely.
But it takes work to do it.
But that takes work.
Yeah.
That is not just a simple, I'm
Yeah.
just going to choose joy today. I feel like the people that can say that so lightly maybe haven't experienced deep pain, because you can say that phrase, but you don't say it as just a flippant little, well, I just choose joy.
Yeah.
It's a choice that you have to, like, when you are suffering from deep grief as we are,
Yes.
that's a choice you have to make again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy one to make.
Yes.
I choose to have joy in different circumstances? Yes, I do. But is there some pain along with that all the time? Yes, there also is. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I just talked about my little granddaughter now that I have, Valeriano's daughter. She's not my biological granddaughter, but she's my granddaughter. And I choose joy with her. Do I still cry when I look at her and I think of what Andy's missing?
Yes.
Yep, I do. I do.
Yes.
So it's not just an easy choice. It's a choice that you have to make over and over again. Right?
Definitely. I agree. And I think it's something that I guess I would want anyone who's wanting to understand parents that have lost children is that for them to understand that we have to make a daily decision of how we're going to walk that day.
Yeah.
It is work, and it can be exhausting. And I don't know if people necessarily always realize that.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think they do. I just don't think they can in some ways, right? I just think it's too difficult to even imagine. Couldn't have imagined what this would be like until it happened, actually.
No, and you know what? I think I don't want them to either
No, I don't
because
either.
because we never want any other parent to go through it.
No, we sure
Yeah.
don't. We sure
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you don't understand. And I'm kind of glad that you
Yes.
make comments that maybe aren't great. I mean, not that I love that you do, but it's because then you're ignorant of it.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to know it. I just don't want anybody to know it,
Yeah. Exactly.
right? It's not something you would wish on anybody.
Exactly.
So, the other things that were really beautiful about your book, first of all, I did love all the pictures. You have so many pictures of lakes and nature in Ontario. It reminds me very much of our place in northern Michigan, too. It is,
Oh, yeah, very similar.
yeah, it's where I feel at peace, right? I mean, why do I love going up to our cottage there? I feel more at peace there. I feel
Yeah.
Andy there. I love watching the birds and looking out at the lake and just being in nature and just, turning on my little bird app and seeing that there are 16 different types of birds all around me. That brings me peace and comfort. And so I got that sense in those pictures that you had, that just sense of peace there. But then along with that is you have some beautiful poetry that you wrote. Just love it.
I'm glad. You know what, poetry for me has been just such a way to express
Yeah.
the feelings that come along with grief, and it just allows it to flow out. I really enjoy writing poetry. Yeah.
Well, I thought it was a beautiful addition to your devotional because you just kind of interspersed intermittently different poems, and they have different types of feelings in them too. They're not all feeling like, some of them feel like they're really feel like sorrow, and others feel more peaceful and hopeful. And I loved that about that too, but they all really showed a lot of emotion. So I would love it if you would read a couple of those poems to our audience now, and this I did warn you about. So, so
I'm ready.
just to the audience, I did not, throw everything on her without some warning. So, if you could read a couple of those poems, maybe Unexpected Guest, I think is beautiful. You love that one, and then The Silence of a Broken Heart. Those are both really, really beautiful, and I'd love for you to maybe read one, and then we'll talk about it a little bit, and then read the
Yep.
other one. Does that sound good?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll start with Unexpected Guest. Grief appeared at my door today, unexpectedly, without warning. I am not prepared for her arrival. Her suitcase tucked behind her. Clearly, she plans to stay. For how long? I slam the door. She climbs through the window, hauling her suitcase over the sill. This uninvited guest is making herself at home, unpacking each of her belongings. She has no intentions of leaving. I understand that I must welcome her. I must rearrange my shelves and find a place for her bits and pieces that she is trusting me to keep safe in my home, in my heart.
That's just beautiful. When did you write that? Do you remember?
I think that one I wrote just over a year ago, I think. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
It's beautiful. It is that it just kind of comes in and moves in. And I did like the image of I need to welcome her. I need to have her be a part of my life, because sometimes I think people want to fight against grief.
yes,
And really, grief's going to be there with you. And grief
yes,
is going to be a part of your life. And you do need to just kind of adjust the rest of your life and the rest of your feelings to have that one with you, because as you
yep,
say, she's going to be there. She's moved in. She's not
yes,
leaving. Hmm.
exactly. And I think if we try to pretend it's not happening or push, like not allow grief and not allow ourselves to process all of it, I think
Yeah.
we just do ourselves a tremendous detriment, like,
Hmm.
and because grief isn't going away.
Yeah.
Once we've lost somebody that we really love, then I call it she. I
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
why, but she's
Yeah.
not going away.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. 100%. And I do think sometimes people feel like, well, I just need to keep busy. I just need to keep busy and keep doing things. And then this will just somehow just kind of get better on its own and go away.
Yes.
It's not going to
Yeah.
happen.
No,
It's not going
no.
to happen.
We really have to feel all of the feelings
Hmm.
and I that's for me partly why I find journaling and writing so helpful is because it takes all of the things that I feel and gets them outside of me so I can process them better and
Hmm.
understand them and kind of start understand what's happening to me at that like I've gone through times where I feel like really numb and I don't feel anything at
Yeah.
all and I think and I can write about that and think I think my body's just protecting me right now
Yeah.
and giving my mind a break for a while.
Yeah.
And then it goes away and then I start feeling, I feel everything and and that numbness was just preparing me.
That's how it's supposed to be, right?
Mhm.
You just don't want to push it away all the time, but taking it in
Yeah.
pieces is kind of the
Yep.
way,
Yeah.
probably the way we have to do it in some ways. Hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. So now I'd love for you to read that next one, The Silence of a Broken Heart.
Okay. So the silence of a broken heart. You may think that the sound of a broken heart would be one to wake you from your sleep, that its crack would reverberate off the walls, leaving you startled and breathless. But no, this is not the way hearts break. Hearts break so silently, not like the crash of a shattered bowl, causing heads to turn towards the sound. Rather, the whisper of the pieces as they fracture apart, floating and fluttering to the floor to lay at our feet. We pick them up one by one, these fragile pieces. We gather them to us and hold them in our hands. We carry them in our pockets like treasure to be protected.
I think that one really struck me because I thought so much. Like when Andy died, I remember going out the next day. I don't know where I was exactly, but I was out in public, and of course the world had continued. Maybe it was even when we left the hospital. Probably was then I'm going out the hospital lobby, and there are people just walking around, and I just felt like I wanted to scream. Don't you know the world just ended?
Yes. Yeah. My entire life just stopped.
Right.
Everyone, you should all stop.
I know. Everyone, you
Yeah.
should stop. You should stop.
Stop what you're doing.
But that's why I think that one hit me so hard, because it is silent. Like my heart broke, and it didn't change other people's lives. Like the grand
Hmm.
scheme of things in the world didn't change the second Andy took his last breath. It did for me, but you can't notice that. You don't notice
Hmm.
when the world ends for somebody else, right?
No. And I think for me and I've written this too, that all when I think of all the pieces of my heart, that shattered the day Michael died, and I think that God has gathered all of those pieces and he holds them really sacred. And I truly believe God has a very special relationship and a very special place for parents who've lost children. I think he draws us really close and he just hold, like, under, there's the verse about being under his wings, and I believe that. I think he just has a very special love for us, and those pieces of our heart that silently broke are they're sacred pieces, and God holds them. And yeah, that's how I think about it.
Well, it's beautiful. It was a beautiful poem. It was beautiful imagery, and it just felt so so true to me. So,
Mm.
any parting thoughts you have for listeners who might be newly going on this journey, or anything else that you might like to say?
I think if you're someone if you're out there and you're new and you've just started what is going to be a lifelong journey for you,
Uh-huh.
there's no words I could tell you that would say, it's all going to be okay. And I wouldn't insult you by even trying. But
Uh-huh.
I can tell you that, number one, there's a lot of us out there. We're out there.
Yep.
Marcy, you're out there. There's a number of people out there who have been on your journey. They're ahead of you on this journey, and we're out there to help you and support you in every way that we can. And please use us,
Yeah.
because we do get it. And I know, it's only been 3 years for me, but I
Mm-hmm.
can say that when those first few days, it's hard to know that over time things will be different.
Yeah.
You're not going to get over it, and it's not about that, but you will grow, and things will be different over time, and we just gradually, grow a little stronger. And
Day by day, honestly, without you really realizing it, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
it is one of those things I've said many times, that when you look at today compared to yesterday, it seems not that much different. And you know that tomorrow is not going to be that much different. But
Hmm.
when you take a minute to turn around, and you can look and you can see that you actually have come quite a long way. Like
Yeah, yeah.
the path is long, but you've made you've been moving.
We've been
It just
moving.
doesn't
Yeah.
feel like it. It just doesn't feel
No, because you don't notice it as it's
like it.
happening.
No, you don't.
But yeah, and I think I would encourage parents that have lost children, get in community with other parents who have lost their
Hmm.
children, because I know for me locally, that's been one of the biggest supports. There's a couple of parents here in Kenora that I am in contact with, and we share, and we get each other, and
Yeah.
it's just in a way that no one else can. And and that, right? And that's just a really powerful healing, to be able to talk with other parents and share that community.
Yeah. It's so, so vital, I think, for healing is to be in community. And whether that's trying to find someone in person, which is ideal, or you can do it online too. So we've
Yeah.
got obviously the
Yeah.
Starlight groups that I'm involved in that you can get involved in yourself. Go to starlightmin.org, or there are other resources as well. And I do want to mention one more time, mothersgriefjourney.com, because you've got all sorts of resources on there as well.
I
Correct?
do, yeah. Lots. I've got just, I've got poetry, I've got just different reflections, I've got tips for people who are trying to support someone grieving. I've got,
Yeah.
ideas like how can you do that? What are the things for you to think about? How to navigate holidays. There's scripture. There's lots on there. And I also have the links to, like, I've got links to podcasts. Yours is on there, and a number of podcasts that I've listened to that have been helpful. So those links are there. If they're looking for that, they can find that on my site as well. I really believe in sharing not just my own resources. I believe in sharing other people's resources. Like,
Yeah.
hey, this person's doing this thing. Like, check them out.
Right. Right.
Because they can help you. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really
You.
appreciate it. And I loved learning more about Michael and learning more
Yeah.
about what you've done. So thank you for that.
Well, thanks for having me. I enjoyed chatting with you today.
Thanks for listening. If you found this helpful and would like to support the podcast, please leave a 5-star rating and comment. To help financially, you can type Andy's Mom, one word, to the number 53555. This provides a link to GiveButter, which allows donations through PayPal, Venmo, Apple Pay, or credit cards. GiveButter will provide a receipt of your tax-deductible donation. Or you can visit the donation page at andysmom.com/donate. Always Andy's Mom is a registered 501c3 and can receive donations through Thrivent Financial and Benevity. Marcy loves hearing from listeners. Please feel free to reach out to her via email at marcy@andysmom.com or on the Instagram or Facebook Always Andy's Mom accounts. Sign up for the email list to get weekly episode links as well as pictures of Marcy's guests and their children. Together, let's work to inspire hope, one day at a time.